this year, more than 7 million gifts.
Good morning, YouTube. It is Friday, December 23rd, 2022. So Christmas Eve. Got it? 10:33 a.m. and I am on my way to Discount Tires. I had so many things I wanted to do on Thursday, and pretty much all I did was sleep. I'm pretty sure I shot a video on the way home. Memory serves. I don't know, my memory is just so blurry lately, which is kind of why I do this, so I can remember stuff later. Anyway, when walking the dog on the left is actually kind of hot. Sorry, I'm distracted. I'm looking at that. Nice. Okay, where was I? Dang, I can't remember if I shot a video on my way home from work on Thursday morning or not. I feel like I did. Wow, it was almost coupled with a shopping cart full of garbage right there in front of the Costco. And the line trying to get in the Costco gasoline is outrageous and blocking most of Oak Street once again. I'll really be glad when they get their new gas center opened, and hopefully they do it in such a way that when it blocks traffic, it ends up blocking 44th Street. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see how that works out. Speaking of traffic on 44th Street, holy crap, there's a lot of it right now. Oh man, that was my gap. I could have went. Let's cut off that Hyundai. All right, got it. Damn. Anyway, I am a little groggy right now, so I'd let y'all know that. Anyway, I ended up going home, going to sleep. I want to say, 8 a.m. ish, pretty normal time for me to go to sleep after working all night at Amazon. And once again, woke up at like 11 a.m., which is not enough sleep. Like, I need to get more sleep than 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours. It's just not enough. But I couldn't get back to sleep, got on my phone as per usual, and ended up catching a second day live stream of the Kari Lake trial. And I kept dozing in and out while listening to it, and pretty much listened to it. I didn't actually notice when the end of it was, but I very much remember listening to the attorney for Kari Lake, the plaintiff's closing argument, and I didn't find it too convincing. So I'm assuming the judge took it under advisement. I mean, that's the normal thing after a 2-day trial, and obviously he has a lot of evidence to review. Just got done streaming about 45 minutes of the Abe Hamadeh trial, which is absolutely atrocious to watch. They're doing the entire thing. People were complaining about the few random people that testified remotely in the Kari Lake trial, but the whole Abe Hamadeh thing is being done via Zoom, and wow, just I can't see that. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. And then at one point somebody went to talk and there was all this feedback. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for a witness here and there testifying by remote, but an entire Zoom trial, that's freaking ridiculous. And Channel 15's stream of it has a giant blue banner. It's still going on right now. If you want to, well, of course, by the time I get this video posted, it won't be. But right at the moment, it's still going on. And can I get it to pop up on the Obama phone right now? Oh man! Green arrow didn't even stay green long enough to get me through the damn intersection. There's a lot of traffic on 44th Street right now. Almost wishing I'd have just gone straight down Oak and taken a less busy street up to Thomas. See if the Abe Hamidi thing will stream. I know that's it there on my Obama phone and the chat underneath. I don't know, it seems like whenever I'm off Wi-Fi, this phone never gets anything worth a shit. Yeah, it's just buffering and buffering and buffering. Anyway, still going on, and it's hard to pick out the real conversation going on in the chat because there's just a buttload of copy and paste trolls and people just straight up mediocre low-level trolling. Oh, look at all the magateers, blah blah blah. Yeah, you're contributing nothing to a conversation here. Can you just go away? And granted, I could have blocked those people. Just occurred to me as I could have blocked those people in the chat to actually lower the scroll to just the people that were contributing. But a couple people absolutely convinced that one of the expert witnesses that insisted that the shrink to fit paper issue with the printed paper ballots that the tabulators were unable to read had to have been done intentionally, maliciously. I don't buy it. And maybe my thing is that maybe it's because I have more experience with printing things from images. Specifically, the main thing that I print from images, and it's kind of weird how this, because this has nothing to do with the election thing, but yet it has everything to do with it. The main thing that I print from images is, from image files, are the cover inserts, the front cover inserts from my for my, I hate it when my car just beeps at me for no reason. Like, what was that even about? When I print the cover sheets for my karaoke books, that's anytime you're printing from any kind of an image, whether it's a picture or a PDF file or cover art or anything that's been created as an image as opposed to as a document file. It's a standard print dialog that comes from the operating system. I mean, I'm familiar with it in Windows, but I'm sure other operating systems have it as well. And I'm pretty sure everything was done in Windows because 90% of everybody uses Windows. But anyway, there's a print dialog that comes up, and I don't know that it can be removed, to be honest. I think it's just part of the operating system. It's not coming from the actual software that's running within the operating system. But anyway, one of the dialogues that comes up is it asks if you want to shrink to fit. It's just the standard image print dialog. Now, when I'm printing my my book covers, I do them at a pretty high resolution. That way I can, and they're not scaled to a specific size as far as like a certain inches or whatever. I know that's a thing that can be done. I really don't know how to do it. So basically I just make sure that the aspect ratio is correct as far as, to print on a standard sheet of printer paper. And then I always select shrink to fit, which basically takes that image and shrinks it from the high resolution I have it at and whatever scale setting that I haven't even bothered with, and it makes it fit perfectly on the 8.5 inch by 11 piece of printer paper. That's a normal thing to turn on, and people who have experience with that kind of printing are, I don't see somebody using that setting as being malicious or trying to fuck with an election. I would imagine people who print and see that dialogue would be like, oh yeah, you set it to that so it'll fit to the paper. Well, come to find out, those image files, the image files that are used by the Maricopa Maricopa County for the ballots, for the print-on-demand ballot system, are all PDF files. So which are a form of image files, and they're all set for 20-inch paper. And we're all made, and all the printers, or all the image the voting tabulation machines were calibrated to specifically for the 20-inch ballots. And when the printing was done, it was all done for the testing. It was all done with the shrink to fit setting disabled. When that print dialog comes up, it's not an unusual thing for somebody to look at that and go, oh, yeah, that should be enabled. That's what I would do. And not trying to fuck up an election. That's just simply what I would do, because my experience with printing image files has taught me that usually yields the best results. Now, I think it was an extreme failure on the part of whoever designed that system and created those PDF files to not create them in such a way that, regardless of that setting, that it would yield the same exact scaled ballot, because that's not a very difficult thing to do. And it should have been tested on both settings, because that's something that's very difficult to remove from Windows, and the odds of an election worker inadvertently setting the wrong thing is pretty big. And apparently there was testimony that somebody was told by somebody above them to set it that way. Again, I'm not seeing that as any kind of malicious attempt or any attempt to fuck up the election. That's something I would have said if I was the person that was directing them, and it wouldn't have been about that. I would just been like, oh yeah, you're printing from an image file, yeah, just shrink it to fit. That always yields the best printing. 90% of the time, that's what you do when you're printing from an image file to get it to print correctly. That's assuming that also assumes settings for margins and whatnot, which, granted, again, those are things that are very difficult to disable because it's built into the print dialog in Windows. Although you got to dig deeper to change that setting, whereas shrink to fit is something that comes up on the initial print dialog. Now, if they were having trouble with it on one setting, with the tabulators reading it, it would be a pretty normal troubleshooting thing for somebody doing the printing to try it on the other setting. And to say, well, those settings should have been disabled. Those are settings within Windows. That's just something that's part of Windows, so it's very difficult to eliminate that. At least that's been my experience. I would imagine that would take some kind of very difficult registry editing, probably beyond the skills of the people that were putting that system together. Anyway, bottom line on it is, at least my interpretation of it, after listening to as much of the trial as I did, and kind of understanding how image files work and how printing from PDF files work, and then how the tabulators absolutely require everything being scaled perfectly to work. I didn't see anything that would make me think that there was any malice. It's an honest mistake, and a mistake that easily could have done. And while not foolproofing the ballot printing system so that mistake couldn't happen, is certainly a sign of ineptitude on the part of the IT person who did it, who put those PDF files together and put that system together. And again, I just don't see it being intentional. It's a sign of ineptitude. It's not a sign of malice or a sign of quote unquote rigging the election. And the bottom line, and what everybody seems to not want to accept, especially the people on the sore loser side of the aisle, is that everybody was given the chance. Everybody whose vote wasn't tabulated. Now, I didn't have that issue. I used, as I said in my last video, I used the vote.maricopa.gov to scroll a little further down the list and find a location where waiting in line wasn't a problem. Whatever the issue was with the printers had been all the voting locations had gotten a handle on it and fixed it. So even if the location I was at was having that problem in the morning, by the time I showed up to vote around 5:45, 6 p.m., whatever the hell time I voted before work, that problem had been solved. And I got to see my vote tabulated. But if I didn't get to see my vote tabulated, I wouldn't have freaked out like some people did at the thought of it being put into a ballot box. When I first started voting in Maricopa County in the early 90s, before my felony and my long period of not being being denied the right to vote, we used paper punch card style ballots, the kind that basically got put inside a machine with holes in it, and you used a metal implement to poke a hole in the ballot. And those weren't able to be tabulated at location. Those got tabulated later. So your ballot, when you're done with your ballot, you pulled it out and you gave it to them and they put it in a box. That's not an unusual thing. And in fact, that's how every county in Arizona, aside from Maricopa, tabulates their votes. I don't know. Maybe they've got something going on in Pima County, because Pima County is pretty populated. But I know most Arizona counties, which are reasonably rural, they just put that stuff in a box. You take your ballot, you bring it up to the election worker, it goes into a sealed box. They take it down to the county recorder's office, and it gets tabulated. So I mean, people that were like, "Oh no, I don't want that to happen," and chose not to vote, they chose not to vote. And as far as it, that people that are saying, well, that prejudiced Republicans. No, that prejudiced Republicans that have been listening to Republican candidates telling them not to trust the election, which is crazy, because the election was run by Republicans. And people that are freaking out about, oh, it's stupid the way Maricopa County does their elections, the way Arizona does their elections. Let's take a step back and think of where these laws and processes came from. The law that sets how Arizona does their elections was put in place decades ago by a dominantly Republican Arizona state legislature. To this day, the Arizona state legislature is still dominantly Republican, and they have not changed it. So we've got a Republican-created voting system that has been held onto by Republicans, and a highly disputed county election run by an elected Republican county recorder and a county board of supervisors led by a Republican. And it just amazes me that all these Republicans, including Republican candidates, are crying, oh, it was foul play by the Democrats. Foul play by the Democrats. By what Democrats? I don't know. The level of stupid at this point is just ridiculous. It's been entertaining watching the trial. I'm not gonna lie. I would much rather Kari Lake be the next governor than Katie Hobbs. I am absolutely not a fan of Katie Hobbs. However, I am a fan of facts and laws and processes, and not a fan of bullshit. What I'm seeing going on with all the publicity surrounding these election lawsuits is a lot of bullshit, and a lot of people just not understanding what's going on, and even some of these so-called expert witnesses that were testifying on behalf of Kari Lake yesterday. And then the one that testified the day before, talking about, oh, it was obviously a 19-inch ballot. A 19-inch ballot image printed on a 20-inch ballot, and that had to have been done intentionally. Like, really, dude, have you never printed a picture? Have you never printed a picture from your own digital camera, or a picture that a friend of you emailed to you? Have you ever not printed that on your own computer and on your printer, and then had it scale improperly and cut off half that person's face and go, oh shit, that ain't right, and then reprinted it and noticed that in the print dialog there's a setting that says shrink to fit or fit to page, and then set that, and then notice that made it print right? Have you never not done that? It just blows my mind that these so-called expert witnesses seem so unfamiliar with that. And then, of course, the other thing I couldn't get past was just how often, when Kari Lake's attorney would be asking questions about ballots, that he seemed completely oblivious to a print-on-demand election day ballot from a voting center and an early ballot. And that a ballot dropped off at a drop box that is an early ballot is still an early ballot, even if it's not dropped off until election day. And how many people just don't seem to understand that's a thing in Arizona, and that's a thing in Arizona because that's the election system that was put in place over 20 years ago by our Republican state legislature. Like, it just amazes me, the lack of knowledge in all of this. And the lack of knowledge at the level of so-called expert witnesses and the attorney representing Kari Lake. I mean, my God. I feel like I could have represented Kari Lake better than this guy. Although, I would have looked at all of that stuff and told her, sorry, sweetheart, you don't have a case. Anyway, I gotta wrap this up. I am super late getting here to the tire shop. I prepaid for 2 tires like a week and a half ago and have just been so overwhelmed with working and not sleeping well and fighting my own depression that I haven't made it here to deal with it. I slept just all completely through yesterday. Ended up waking up when Priscilla showed up at my window at like 1 in the morning. Knocking my bedroom window woke me up. I couldn't believe I slept like that. So the last thing I remember was dozing off during the closing arguments of the Kari Lake trial. Dozing off during the closing arguments of the Kari Lake trial, and then woke up and I was groggy. I was super tired. Checked my phones, like when she was knocking on the window to see what time it was. Both my phones had just died from just laying there, running and not being connected to power cables. So I had zero idea what time it was until she came in and told me what it was. I'm glad she came over to do a welfare check on me and provide a little bedroom fun. It has me in a much better mood today, always. She did roll out kind of early in the morning. She said that the dust in my place was making it hard for her to breathe, which I'm going to try to do some cleaning over this 4 days off for the Christmas holiday. Although I already blew my first day, so I have 3 days left. Around 9 o'clock this morning, I got a call from Discount Tires wanting to know, hey, are you coming in to get the tires you paid for? So I'm here. I need to get that handled. But thanks for coming with me on this short drive and listening to my rant about the whole Kari Lake trial and also the Abe Hamadeh trial. I will say this. I haven't read as much about the Abe Hamadeh lawsuit. That election was ridiculously close. I mean, the Kari Lake one is close. Oh my God, and there's still people in the comments saying, oh, Blake Masters really screwed up. He conceded the election. He didn't. He should have filed a lawsuit too. Are you kidding? Masters versus Kelly wasn't even remotely close. Not even remotely close. I don't know. The stupidity of the general American population, and just it's killing me. It really is. Anyway, I gotta retire. Fortunately, it seems like it's not too terribly busy right now, so hopefully they can get me taken care of soon. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great one.